just came back from Nepal,
Mhm.
and I am so, and you invited me to go, and I was
Yeah.
so bummed that it wasn't. It just didn't work, and it was just like, oh man, because I've always wanted to go to Everest. And you did a climb. Now it wasn't Everest, but it was the peak, I believe, right next to it. And would you share just a little bit about maybe the motivation and you know, you don't just pick a mountain and say go. So a little bit of the adventure around actually doing that climb that just happened here a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I did it in October, but it wasn't the first thought I've ever had of this climb before. I've actually been sort of dreaming about it and thinking about it for 20 years. But I always came up with excuses because I thought, well, I don't have the time. It takes a longer time. I don't really have the money, and I always have student groups with me. So this was my fifth time actually going to Nepal. And I decided a year ago now that I was going to do this. I wasn't getting any younger, and I didn't want to regret it using the words by saying I shoulda, coulda, woulda. And so I just buckled up and did some, additional training to get to that peak. It was a very technical peak. It was over 20,000 feet in elevation. And no, I didn't need oxygen, but the breathing was intense and very technical: ropes, ice axe, crampons, helmet, harnesses, the whole 9 yards to get to the vertical piece of ice to get to the very top. And it was amazing. It was among the hardest, if not the hardest peak I've ever climbed. And so the whole notion of that for me is think about those things in your own life or anybody's life out there if you're listening. What seems almost impossible or right at the edge of, I'm not sure I can do this, but you try it anyway. And what actually prompts you and gets you to that summit is their will, your desire, your intention. It just happens. It just happens. I used to tell students I used to teach rock climbing, and they would say, oh my gosh, my foot is slipping. And I would tell them to talk to their feet and say, foot, stay there. And magically, it did. They would tell me this all the time. You said that you told me to keep my feet there. And it happened. It actually happened. But that's sort of the whole essence of anything that you're striving for.
Right.
Is you have to have the mental capacity and the will and the desire. Desire goes so much farther than any physical strength that anybody could ever muster up. It's the desire. And if it's a really authentic desire, you can do it. It just happens magically. So that was my inspiration of doing that.
Oh, and that's so cool. I know that uh, with having been diagnosed with MS, I will be walking straight, and all of a sudden I am walking sideways. And I have done exactly what you just said. I go walk straight, and magically I do. And
Yeah.
it's that really in command of the focus of where I'm wanting to go.
Mhm.
And so, really neat story. So, I want to shift gears a little bit. And you've written a book.
Yeah.
Would you share with us? A lot of people want to write a book. They want to write a book, and they just don't do it. So, what was the inspiration that actually got that book birthed?
Yeah, well, I had a sister and several of my family members. Every time I came back from an adventure somewhere in the world, she said, "Oh, Renee, you need to write a book." We've heard that in our own circle of influence and people around us. And I wanted to write a book for a long time, but actually, after climbing this peak, I, I, I was, it was so fresh and the inspiration was so fresh. I just really sat down and wrote it because is just the inspiration of reaching each summit. So that the title of the book is Achieving Your Potential, 15 Empowering Steps to Reach Each Summit. So once again, I use the metaphor of reaching your summit, and your summit doesn't have to be a mountain summit. It's your desire, it's your calling, it's your goal, it's your dream, whatever it is. And it's each summit. Notice I say each summit because everybody's got multiple summits that they can reach. And writing a book was another summit for me. So
Well, no,
yeah.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so the most recent big climb that I did was the inspiration to write the book.